Hey there, hi there, ho there. Hello there, my name's Adam. Welcome back to the channel Kaputy Inc. Building another plow truck, needs a flatbed, well, make one. Let's get kicking. Our 1999 Super Duty. It's a F250 V10 automatic 4-wheel drive. Same as a bunch of other trucks in my fleet. That way you only got to keep one engine, one transmission, one transfer case around. Pretty sweet deal. Anyways, building a flatbed. I think the keys to a good flatbed, it's nice to have it, I think, look good, or look cool, at least, in my opinion. You don't like it, fuck yourself. I like a pinched corner back here. That's good. Less chance of something getting backed into. Honestly, what are you going to use this portion of the bed for? We're not hauling lumber very often. If we are hauling anything long, we've got a trailer anyways. The other thing with this truck is that my dad, it'll be kind of my dad's truck, and we need to have a rail system. One of these, two of these deals, so that he can hook up his camper, and then we can also use it as a gooseneck. We have a gooseneck attachment for that, and we have his camper, like fifth wheel, whatever you want to call that kingpin setup. So that's why we've done some things on here or whatever, which I'll show you. I'm not saying this is the best way to build a flatbed. I'm just trying to give you some of my ideas. So moving forward here, I'll point out a few things I've done, decisions I made, and we'll go from there. All right, I built one of these in the past. One of my more popular videos. Thank you for that, YouTube. I'll put like one of those little card things up here or whatever. But the idea here is you want these two rails here if you're going to be doing any sort of fifth wheel gooseneck. My other one that I built has a sunken ball well in it. It's just a gooseneck well, so that the deck's still flat but the ball is below surface. I was just looking and I saw some systems with like a removable ball. I think I do need to build another flatbed after I'm done with this one, and I think I'm going to try and do that with that. So I've added these cross plates here. These are going to land with the rails. The rail system takes 2 bolts, 2 bolts, 2 bolts, 2 bolts to hold it on. You could probably add more if they line up, and if they do line up, we will. We'll actually probably tack the rails to the top of the bed too. But to make sure that the rail system is being connected all the way to the frame, we've got this piece of C-channel. All the C-channel we use here is 4-inch C-channel, and it's 1/8 inch thick. Everything's 1/8 inch. The headache rack is a 4x4 1/8 inch. The decking we have is 1/8 inch diamond plate. So everything's the same thickness. So yeah, this catches the frame down here. We need to add another bolt. It'll have 6 bolts per side, 6 5/8 bolts per side, holding the bed on. And we catch main rail, top rail, and we catch this rail we put in here. Plus we're also catching the cross rail or whatever. These are cut into it. We did a good job cutting those in, so it'll be fully welded back in. These rails just butt into the front. The front cross member is a piece of 4x4 box. I like that because it's easier just to weld the other piece of 4x4 tubing to the top too. You don't have to like make a plate or anything like that. So yeah, so we do the main rails, and with these I decided what I do is I set a 2x4 at the front of the cab, and then I butt the rails up to that, so that gives me an 1.5 inch space off the back of the cab. That's what I have on my other truck. It worked well, so that's what we're going with here too. You could use a 2x6 too to make sure it stands up tall enough. And the 2x4, and then I also lay 2x4s across the frame, front and back, because 2x4s is enough to give you clearance over this hump. There's a slight hump in the frame here or whatever, where the axles are. So that clears that the whole way, so that you have a flat subframe, if you will, to work off of. We got right in front of the spring perch here, in the center of the spring perch here, there's a nice hole that works great to put a bolt in. So that's where our first up brace is. The second one here lands precisely, there's a hole in the frame here as well. That one catches. And then back here, the back brace actually is where the bumper bolts onto. We're not going to be running the stock bumper anymore, so we take advantage of those 2 holes. The only thing that I should have done differently is how this works. So this back brace is decided upon where a mud flap will fall between the brace and the back spring perch. So right here, but there was room to play with here, and what I should have done is scooted this forward another 1/2 inch. It wouldn't have affected it, and then I could have taken this brace and I could have flipped this around, but then again I could have flipped this around And then this brace could have went up and caught frame, main rail, and would have caught this just the way the center is. But, I mean, it's going to be plenty strong, but, you know, you can never be too strong. So, so yeah, that's my plan there. And then for laying out the spacing here, I think the most important thing is that you have about 3 to 4 inches to play with when it comes to how this sheet lands, because my ideal here is it's a 4-foot landing spot, because your sheets are 4x8. I think you can get 5x10s too, but I got 4x8s. So the 4x8 sheet, you can move forward or backwards here 3 to 4 inches on your 4-inch tube in the front, and then your seam will land right here. It's ideal to have a seam land here, leave a nice little gap in between them, that and the next sheet, and you just fill that valley with a nice weld, and you're welding on both sheets at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. So as far as spacing goes, roughly you're going to go obviously 0 or for the first 4 inches, 2, 4, and then 6 is kind of how it lands. And then when I do on the back here, where this back brace lands, it just kind of lands so that, like I said, the mud flap will have a straight down shot to get behind the spring perch and not run into this brace. Maybe it's not as important that it doesn't hit the brace, but just so it doesn't hit the mud flap, the exhaust here will have to be changed. So that determines where my pinch is going to be on the back here. So where this brace lands is where we decide to pinch. No, nothing special there. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. I guess, you know, if you move this forward a little more, you could get too much pinch, I suppose, but this looks good. We have about a 10-inch pinch, I guess you would call that. If I'm measuring here to here, my hand's 10 inches, so roughly 10-inch pinch. View of the back, you can see the pinch. I do believe I'm deciding I'm going to go with putting the lights along this back bar here. You can see the void where the sander will set in. Yeah, nothing crazy here. Pretty simple. 4x4 rail laid down, or a 1.5 by 4, 1/8 inch laid down. Other one shooting across. You'll get to weld here, and then when I flip the bed over, I'll get to weld there. So it's getting welded on both sides. It's getting plenty of catch there. Again, here's the cross beams that our stuff will bolt to. A little extra support. When you think about it, those rail systems end up bolting through sheet metal beds. They'll catch a bed rail usually, but for the most part, they're bolting through sheet metal, and they hold up. They eventually tear up, you know, depending on how heavy a weight you're doing. But I think this is going to be a nice setup here. I'm contemplating, I'll probably add some sort of gusset in this area here to tie this together one more time, or maybe add it here to here, but I think it'll be on this side because I want to catch this piece, get it tied to this piece even better. Just try and alleviate all worries that your bed's going to rip off, or part of your bed is going to rip off and end up in the back of the cab. 4x4 box, tried to big brain this thing and cut the angles in. Got real close. The bottom bars tip in a little bit, which I shouldn't have cut at the front here. I just did a 45 on this tube here. The bed itself is 83 inches wide, which is slightly wider than the cab, but I'm going to put fender flares on the front of it so it'll match. The flares stick out just as far as the bed does. I 45'd the front of it. Probably shouldn't have. I probably should have almost like 22.5 that deal or whatever, so that the line hits the back of the cab here. And then the headache rack could have been a little wider, but I'll be building a plate. I'll be putting a piece of plate that goes here too, because this thing is fully welded on and there's some wiggle in it, like way too much wiggle. That'll crack in no time. So you just got to get that brace that goes here to here, which, like I said, will be done with a piece of diamond plate. Bent diamond plate will have a nice lip, and then that's where our gas filler neck's going to go. So this is the structural framework of it. I took and coped the end of this. There was the thought I turned the C-channel around, and so the C-channel's out like this, but I don't know, I didn't like that look. I like the flat, smooth side, and then now there's a nice lip. So the other box I use square tubing here, which doesn't allow you to hook a ratchet strap or a chain to the underside here at all, which is kind of annoying, to be honest with you. I had to add anchor points in the bed, which I'll still add to this bed to help tie the sander box down. But if I'm just going to get some plywood or something, you know, like that, or going to pick something up that I need to ratchet down that these tie points don't hit right, you know, you just hook it onto the edge. So I like that better than using box tubing. Box tubing looks cooler. I think it's got a nicer look to it, but this is just a work truck. So. So I got it decked, got all the sheet cut on there. Got that put in, got the top brace put in. It's not fully welded, most of the stuff's just tacked. This back piece ends up being a perfect cutoff from this portion here. You get lucky with that. I guess if a guy was really planning ahead, he could do this sheet, the shorter version, and put a bend in that, and then you wouldn't have to weld that bottom seam. That's a lot of thinking ahead, but I kind of made these sail panels here. Here's where a gas filler neck goes, which sweet little situation. You take, when you're making a 45 cut on one of these, or one of these you end up making a wedge cut, you use that and it makes this nice little pocket. You cut that out, bend it in, use the slice you took out of there, and you've got a nice little filler area there for your filler neck. That's where that will go, so that way it fills gas nice. I did that on the other one and we never have an issue with it. I tend to add, I'm going to add a drop here, diagonal up, give the old girl a little ass. Over here, same deal, got the sail panel, little sacred geometry on the front, and that 4x4, this thing is stout now. I have faith in, if you rolled the truck, you'd still get hurt, but you would still total the truck too, but maybe the bed would survive, or you know, maybe you wouldn't die as much. Either way, be sweet. Here's the sail panel I was telling you about. Got the little cut in for the gas filler neck. Gas filler neck will end up, you'll have to extend the hoses, but that's about it. Got the end cap there. What I did is I laid 1/4 inch bolts in between these two pieces, and that gave me a perfect gap, and it really fills in nice with weld. I got this seam here fully welded, and like I said before, I'd left like a 1/4 inch gap between the two pieces. I just literally took a 1/4 inch bolt and laid it down there, and it gave me that perfect even gap the whole way. And then I just keep swinging it all the way across here, and it fills this in, and it's like almost perfectly level. But even better is it's not standing up. So when we bolt the plates down to the top for the 5th wheel rail, we won't have to knock anything down. Hopefully we don't have to drill through it. That's a possibility, but we know we don't have to deal with it being an issue with creating too much height. It's welded the whole way around, and then underneath it'll actually get welded, because you can hear it's got a little slight rattle to it because nothing in the center is welded. You know, there's a brace here, all the way over here, would be over here, and then there's the 2 braces that run this way that we'll do some stitch welding. It won't get fully welded there, but at least stitch welded too, so that we take a little bit of the rattle out of it. All right, we popped her off, got her stood up so I can get all my seams welded. So we'll get all the same seam. We'll do some stitch welding along here so that the bed doesn't have like a, hopefully it solids it up, doesn't have like that hollow sound, and you don't have tension for the metal to move away. I think we're going to add a couple of gussets here and there, but other than that, another couple hours worth of welding and it should be ready for paint. Alright, I've got the bed all welded up, top and bottom, front rack's all welded. I added a couple little tabs for a strobe light on top. I cut the hole in the floor up here for the fuel filler neck to pass through. Yeah, I haven't cut the lights in yet, but that's where they're going to go. So the sandblaster's on his way, and then we'll paint it, get it mounted on the truck. Got a coat of paint on it, some rims on there for the truck it's going on. Got those sandblasted and painted as well, so just waiting for the paint to dry overnight, and then we'll slap it on the truck. Alright, we got our lights all mounted. We'll have tail light, strobe light, backup light, on each side. These are just an LED pod. Those are LED taillights. Got a 14-inch light bar. That's a flood spot combo on each side. LED strobe light for the top. Mounted up with a couple of tabs. Those are where the screws go through the magnets. You see it right here? Yeah. The screws normally go through the magnets there. All wired clamped, P-clamped, cushion clamped, whatever you want to call it. Addle clamped and loomed. Plenty extra tail. It's just laid over there, but it'll go down under. The thing I really like about this light comes with a really long cord that is not spiraled. Normally they're spiraled and short. This one gives you lots of cord and it's straight. You don't have to fuck with it. You can just, I'm going to get rid of this. I don't really care what pattern it has. And I'll just turn it off to a toggle switch, which will be, that strobe will be connected to these strobes, which will be connected to the strobes in the grill that'll go right about here. That'll be sweet. Another one in the books. Pretty jazzed about it. We got the frame rails here. Everything was made out of 1/8" C-channel frame rails, 1/8" diamond plate for the top, 4x4 1/8" tubing, square tubing. This is just leftover drops from the diamond plate, all 1/8". Gas filler next, so your money, strobe lights, backup lights. This one we chose to do the rail system on top because my dad will be using this truck a bunch and he can haul his camper with it. We can still pull a gooseneck trailer with it. Pretty excited about that. Back of this one, we've got the recess because we'll have a sander that sits in here. In the wintertime, the hitch will come off. Sander will sit in there. License plate bracket. We do have a license plate light. It's a light. It'll light up probably half the plate. That's at least trying, right? Taillights, blinker combo, strobe, backup lights. Pretty excited about that. Message, who's this from? Guy I bought the truck from. Donald, huh? Don? Looking good, right, buddy? All right, anyways. Drop down here. This is pretty stout. Mud flaps. The truck is way too tall in the rear. It's got like a lift block, and it actually doesn't have that heavy of springs. So I'm going to swap out for newer, like heavy duty springs. I think they're like a 7 leaf, but the lift block in it right now is like this tall, and we'll eliminate it down to 0 or the shortest one. That's like in my other truck here. Heavier springs, but a lower ride height. This thing is crazy tall in the back, and we don't need that. So, yeah, rail system again, pinned in. There will be a fuel tank will go here. Right now I just have this sitting on here. The last thing, we just use that C-channel straight up and down. 2 5/8 grade 8 bolts holding on there. Another one right here, 2 5/8 grade 8 bolts holding on there. The back where the normal bumper would bolt on, 2 more 5/8 grade 8 bolts there. Same with the rails, 2 4 6 8 grade 8 bolts. Well, that's going to wrap her up. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. Ask any questions you may. We'll see you on the next one.